WRHU Radio Hofstra University.
For 88.7 FM WRHU, I'm Max Sacco. As we continue our Alumni of the Week series, we bring another recent alumni on. One of our more recent ones graduated in December 2019, former sports director, and a ton of other titles that she did really put the station forward into the 21st century, Miss Liane Sousa.
Hey, Sacco, or I have to call you Max Sacco while we're on camera right now.
On camera. So, well, I'm fine with Sacco. You always called me Sacco when you were at RHU.
Hey, good. Okay.
So, Liane, first question. Do you want to just give a little bit about yourself and really what took you to Hofstra and then to take that next step to WRHU as well?
Oh, my goodness, Max, like, where do I really begin? I come from Westchester County, so Yonkers, right outside Manhattan in the Bronx area. Big reason why I'm a huge diehard Yankees fan. I always knew that I wanted to go into journalism from a really young age, from watching young broadcasts. And being a Yankees fan, I always wanted to go into sports reporting. My college choice at the time, when I went to my junior year of high school, was always Hofstra. I was already getting those emails like so many of us, and at the time I knew that they had a great journalism program that I wanted to be a part. Didn't know much about the radio station WRHU, and then once I finally did a tour at the end of my junior year into senior year, I was amazed by all of the amazing awards that were on the wall and everything else involved with it, and the fact that we were a college radio station already working with the New York Islanders. We weren't working with the Long Island Nets at the time, but just the professionalism that was already carried there and that I knew that I wanted to be a part of was the reason why I chose Hofstra. And if it wasn't for WRHU, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I give all credit to John Mullen, Bruce Avery, and Pete Silverman. They really taught me what it took to be a professional in this current crazy job cycle that we're in right now.
And now, Liane, what are some of the things you did at RHU and some of the really major accomplishments you had as well? Because again, you were one of our former sports directors at your time and one of the first female ones as well where you were at RHU.
Well, it really took me a long time to really get to where I wanted to be at the station. When you first come in, you have set goals that you want to accomplish. You see all your fellow peers, and I, at the time, was kind of falling behind. I was part of the fall 2016 training class. That feels so long ago at this point. And I knew that I wanted to do sports, but I didn't realize that you had to start as an eng assist to end up doing play-by-play in color. So that took such a long time for me to realize that. But it wasn't until I started gaining that confidence in my smaller roles as being a highlight assist. That was something that we carried back then. Then finally engineering, working the board, being a board up. That was really exciting to me. And then finally, John Mullen finally gave me the courage to kind of step into the Long Island Nets role, producer. That was a role that we didn't exist at the time. We were kind of just putting Nets broadcasts on air, and they were still excellent, but we kind of needed someone to oversee the broadcast in terms of bringing the equipment over to the Coliseum. You know, small things like that really puts a broadcast on the air. Thankfully, I started getting involved with that. John Mullen recognized me, saw the great efforts that I was putting in, and then he decided, alongside Nick, the sports director at the time, that I would be the perfect person to hold that position, and I loved it. It was an opportunity that I never had before, part of the sports department, where I got to work one-on-one with a lot of fellow of my peers. And it was an opportunity that I finally gained some confidence in myself. And then that, I started getting involved more over the summer and doing Long Island Ducks games, getting to know more of the staff. And in the fall sports, I was a volleyball beat reporter at the time. And that was, I think, 2017, 2018. And then finally I had a really great summer, and then I jumped to running for that position, sports director, and it really changed everything for me. It was a position where I got to learn a lot about myself, how I should treat others. That was something that was super important to me. How do I lead a department? Scheduling, programming, different broadcasts. It was a really different world then. And all the little things that I did then that I was taught by John, by Pete, and by Bruce is kind of what I'm doing now in that terms of just the soft skills of speaking to people, how to conduct a meeting, how to send emails, small things like that that really groomed me in my time as sports director to what I kind of do in my new role.
And Liane, it's kind of funny. You mentioned, everything sports director taught you. Is there anything else really RHU just outside of the sports department, even as a whole, taught you just about either life or going into the communications field, a field that a lot of, freshmen in college, I want to be a play-by-play announcer. And then you get there and you get overwhelmed because this field really is a lot bigger than people see it.
I so agree with you, Sacco. It is a role that it definitely humbles you a lot. You start to realize that you're not as good as everyone's going to tell you that you are. And then you step out in the world and you're like, wait a second, I thought I was that good. No, you go back to that same role that you were in as an assistant engineer or as a highlight assist. Those little things, it really does humble you into realize that you have to work hard for every little thing that you do. And that is one thing that WRHU and the sports department really teaches you at a very young age. When I'm saying young age, as a 17, 18-year-old going into this, knowing that this is your passion, but you have to start at the bottom and work your way up. And that's exactly what I learned. And it only takes one person to make it all happen.
No, I definitely agree. And you were definitely the person that made it happen for me. And I know a lot of other people, me, Botch, Ryan, first-year people, you definitely were that person for us. And Liane, I think the big final question here, you obviously have been graduated for about a semester now, considering, Pat was spring, you were in the winter. So about half the station still remembers you, and you have a lot of new kids coming in. We had a huge training class just come into WRHU. What is some of the best advice you have for them, these new sport kids, as they really begin their journey to become the next big Islanders producer or play-by-play commentator? What's your best advice?
Best advice that I can give is to be around. I think just being present in the office. I know now it's different. It's definitely a different time, but staying active and building those relationships with your fellow staff members. I think that is something so important and something that I learned a bit later at my time at WRHU. So one, to be friendly. And I think that's something that Pat had echoed, to be likable. That's so true. And to be around. I think people need to know who you are. People need to know the personality that you have, because then that puts the management roles as a student manager, right? You're kind of guided in this position. That helps them a lot more. So that would be one. And then a second thing is that even though you may not be granted those opportunities that you really wanted, it's even more important to continue working on your craft. Now we have those tools and that accessibility to kind of do anything that we want on our own. You can start your own podcast. You don't necessarily have to be on the airwaves. You can continue working on your reel. You can do mock interviews. You can do mock play-by-play in color. That's all available for you, but you have to have the passion and drive to do it all yourself. Don't ever expect anything to be given to you. You are going to have to earn it.
Well, Liane, I think that's perfect advice to end on there. Just make sure you work hard and you got to work for what you got to do. Liane, you were a big inspiration to all of us at the radio station. We thank you for your time here, and thank you very much for coming on to be spotlighted as our Alumni of the Week.
Thank you so much, Sacco.